Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah, wa ba'd. Have a seat. Nasir, come on, have a seat. Sit right there. Now, before we start the class, something that we find of benefit in the well-known hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, wherein he came to the Masjid of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, having upon himself extremely white clothing and extremely dark hair. La yura alayhi athar as-safar, no signs of travel could be seen upon him. Wala ya'rifuha minna ahad, even though none of us recognized him or knew him. The narrator said, Hatta jalasa ila Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fa asnada rukbatayhi ila rukbatayhi. He came and he sat close to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the point that he connected his knees to his knees. Wa wada'a kaffayhi ala fakhidayhi, and he placed his hands upon his thighs. Something that we extract from this narration is this: the ulama, they say concerning this hadith that all branches of Islamic knowledge can be found in it or extend out from it. And from that which they extract from this narration is the etiquettes of seeking knowledge, how we are to seek knowledge, etiquettes of sitting in a gathering, in a class, and how we should do so. And from those etiquettes that we get from this short portion that we've quoted from the narration is the benefit of sitting close to the teacher, not sitting far away. Right? You want to sit close to the teacher as possible and not sit far away. And this is in order that you can be sure, first and foremost, to hear everything that the teacher is saying. And likewise, this is better to ensure that you don't become lazy and drift off in the class because you're sitting close to the teacher, so you know the teacher can what? He can see you. Right? And so this is from the etiquettes that we get of seeking knowledge and sitting in the gathering from this narration. Likewise, that of when you come to the circles of knowledge, putting upon yourself decent clothing and the likes of this, out of respect for the ilm, that you're seeking, respect for that knowledge. Now, and this is what we get from this particular point in the narration, and perhaps we'll mention more inshallah ta'ala. So this means, we should come close, right? We should come close. If a person doesn't have a back ailment or he's not injured and the likes of this, then there's no need to sit on the walls, because this is, something which will contribute to becoming lazy in the lesson, and perhaps you get too comfortable and you can doze off. Plus, it's bad posture. At any rate, we continue with our monthly lesson in this book, Hayatuna al-Usriya, or our family life, Bain al-Waqi' wal-Ma'mul, between that which is the reality and that which is hoped for. Our family life between the reality and that which is hoped for. By Shaykh Muhammad Ghalib al-Umari, Hafidhahullah wa ra'ah, from the scholars of the UAE. We broke into, in the last sitting, some of the asbab of mashakil, the reasons that lead to problems in the household. Today we're only going to take one mushkila, or one sabab rather, one problem one reason that leads to problems in the household, because the next issue is a very detailed issue and is really geared towards the men. That which we're going to cover in the next issue is the issue of an-nafaqah. In the next class we're going to speak about the issue of an-nafaqah and the obligation of spending upon one's family, and how the men being lackadaisical in spending upon their family contributes to big problems. Men neglecting this responsibility, not fulfilling it to the best of their ability, it leads to big problems in the household. And the Shaykh, he covers that in a very detailed manner, covering a large number of pages. So we'll save that for one whole sitting to dedicate towards that issue. In this sitting, it will be somewhat short, as we will touch upon the issue that we mentioned in the last sitting that we really wanted to get to, and this is السبب الثالث الضعف في إظهار المحبة بين الزوجين. It is weakness in displaying love towards one's spouse. A person having deficiency in how they display affection, how they display love towards one's spouse. And so the Shaykh, he mentions في الأشهر الأولى, in the first months of the marriage, قد لا يفتقر الزوجان إلى الوصية بإظهار المحبة والمودة. In the first months of the marriage, then perhaps the spouses will be in no need whatsoever of being advised with displaying love and affection. This is that newlywed stage wherein the couples are typically all over each other. We call it nowadays the cupcake phase, right? Where people are cupcaking and they're all over each other and they always eager to spend time with each other and trying to impress each other. This stage here, the Shaykh, he mentions in those first few months, then perhaps the spouses will be in no need of being advised regarding displaying love and affection. لِقُرْبِ أَحْدِهِمَا بِبَعْضٍ, due to the newness of the situation and that marriage. إِلَّا أَنَّهُ إِذَا طَالَتِ الْمُدَّةِ, but when the time extends upon them, وَتَقَادَمَ الْأَحَدِ بَيْنَهُمَا, and they have been together for a much longer period of time, رُبَّمَا أَصَابَ هَذِهِ الْعَلَاقَةِ شَيْئًا مِنَ الْفُتُورِ, then perhaps this connection which they have, it will experience a period of a lapse, if you will, والجفاف ثم الجفاء, and then that will become complacency. They will get too used to each other, and then perhaps things will become a bit rough between them. So the Shaykh, he says, وَلِلْأَسَفِ الشَّدِيدِ, what is extremely unfortunate is that these are the marahil, those stages and phases that marriages go through. Oftentimes, as we mentioned, you're in that first few months of the marriage. There's that strong connection. It's a new situation, a new person. You're excited. The wife, she's excited to be a wife and to fulfill those wifely duties, and the husband the same. And he's trying to impress her, and so on and so forth. And after that, once that newness begins to wear off, sometimes you have what I like to call the make or break stage, right? Once that newness wears off and that excitement, wanes a bit, then you're left with the reality of that individual, right? And you start to see that you're two different people. So you can choose to look at the best of what that person has to offer and overlook those minor defects and lapses, or you can make a big deal out of everything, every fault, every shortcoming you see in the person. You can blow it up and make it bigger than what it actually is, until you find yourself divorced after a couple of months of marriage. And this is not what is desired or hoped for. But these stages the Shaykh, he mentions, are the stages that many of the marriages go through. He says to the point that the zawj يعتقد أن إظهار مشاعر المحبة والتودد دليل على تنزله, to the point that the husband, he may believe that him displaying feelings, if he shows his feelings, he shows love, he shows affection towards his wife, that will be an indication of some type of that he is less than a man. If he's soft towards his wife, he displays love and affection, then it's an indication that he's just he's weak in some type of way. Some men, they think this. He says, وَتَظُنْ الزَّوْجَ, likewise the wife, she may think that if she displays love towards her husband and affection, and she shows him that she loves him, then this will be an indication of a lack of karama for her, that she has no nobility, that she's can be walked upon and shown, and so on and so forth, and that she's weak in some way. وهذا سبب لكثير من الإشكالات والخلافات, and this is a reason for many problems and differences to take place within a marriage. Think about it. If you do not feel love from the one who you're supposed to feel love from, what kind of issues would that cause? What kind of insecurities would it bring about? What type of problems would it create inside of the marriage? So he says that وحدوث فجوات كبيرة بينهما, and it will bring about much schism between the couple. فقد يعتقد الزوج أن فعل ذلك سيجعلها تتسلط عليه, and perhaps the husband, he believes that if he were to do this, if he were to show love and to show his wife that he loves her, and to be kind towards her and show the softer side of himself towards his wife, then this would make her to be an authority over him. It will make her to be an authority over him. وَكَذَا الزَّوْجَ. Likewise, the wife, she thinks the same, that if she shows love for her husband, then it means that she's some weak woman and downtrodden woman because she shows her husband that she loves him. Like in the haqiqah, he said the reality though is that أنه يفوتهما معرفة أن هذه العلاقة, is that they don't realize that this connection between them, this marriage, this family which they formed, they came together to form, ليست ميدان حرب ومعركة. It is not a battlefield. It's not a battlefield. نعم. التي يكون أحد طرفيه أو طرفيها رابحا والآخر خاسرا, such that if one party wins, that means the other person loses. We're not in a war. We're not in a chess game such that we have to strategize and play some manipulative mind games with each other, trying to figure out the best stratagems and means to employ in order to get over another person, such that if I win, that means you lost, and if and vice versa. It's not the kind of situation. The Shaykh said it's not a battlefield. We don't have to play these types of mind games with each other. We can be genuine with each other, because if one person wins, it doesn't mean that the other person loses. He says, "Bal hiya usra," rather it is a family. It is a family. It's not a chess game. It's not a war. It's a family. La bud min al hifaz ala tamasukiha, and it is a must that we do everything that we can to hold on to it and to keep it together. And from that is showing love for each other. Showing love, showing affection. وَتَعْسِيل أَرْكَانِهَا, we must make its pillars firm by way of displaying love, affection, and togetherness. وَلَوْ تَأَمَّلْنَا فِي سِيرَةِ نَبِي هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ وَرُسُولِهَا صلى الله عليه وسلم لرأينا أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم أفصح عن محبته لخديجة. If we were to contemplate upon the life of our prophet, the prophet of this ummah and his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will see that he alayhi salatu wasalam, he eloquently spoke about his love for Khadija. He would often display this, and he would mention it, and he would speak about it even to his other wives. Now, we don't necessarily advise that in a polygynous situation, but this is an example of not hiding one's love for a spouse. Okay? He said that he would say, "Inni qad ruziqtu hubbaha." I have been given love for her. I've been provided with. Allah Ta'ala gave me love for her. Now, this is something that Allah Ta'ala places in the heart. Ruziqtu. Wa huwa ar-raziq. Wa man huwa raziq? Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala, He is the raziq. He is the one who provides us, because the hearts are between the fingers of Ar-Rahman. Love is an affair of the heart, right? So the hearts are between the fingers of Allah Ta'ala. He turns them however He wills. So he said, I've been given this love by Allah Ta'ala for Khadija. وَلَمَّا سُئِلَ عَنْ أَحَبِّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ, when he was asked regarding who was the most beloved of the people to him, فَأَعْلَنَا, he declared openly, didn't hide it, saying Aisha. Aisha. And rather he would praise and commend his wives often, and he would speak well about them. And he said, فَضْلُ عَائِشَةَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ كَفَضْلِ ثَرِيدٍ عَلَى سَائِرِ الطَّعَامِ, that the virtue of Aisha over other women is like the virtue of a tharid over other meals and other foods. This is a tremendous hadith, and it speaks regarding the virtue of Aisha. We know that some of the ulama, they mention that based upon this narration, because the narration is part of this is just part of a longer hadith in which he mentioned that many amongst men, they attain that level of completion and perfection, but only a few amongst women attain that. And he mentioned those few amongst the women who attained it. Amongst them Maryam, amongst them was Fir'aun's wife, amongst them was our mother Khadija. But then after mentioning these women, right? After mentioning these women who had attained that completion and perfection, that the highest or the nearest to that a woman can reach, he said this statement concerning Aisha. Imam al-Dhahabi alayhi rahmatullah, he extracts from this and he mentions that includes Khadija. That includes Khadija, due to what Aisha had from ilm. Right? She had knowledge, she had fiqh that Khadija didn't have the opportunity to acquire due to the time frame in which she passed away. Radiyallahu anha. So this includes, according to many of the ulama, Khadija. So Aisha would be, based upon that viewpoint, the best of his wives. Now, and some of them, they consider Khadija to be the most virtuous amongst them due to the early stage in which she embraced Islam and so on and so forth, the support and aid that she gave to the Prophet alayhi wasallam. She was amongst the first period to believe in him. Amongst the first period to believe in him, and so on and so forth. So some of them mention that it's Khadija, but some of them they mention that this hadith and his statement is general for all women, including Khadija, that Aisha's virtue over them is like tharid over other foods. But this shows us what? That he would come in and speak well about his wives. He would praise them, mention their good virtues, and so on and so forth. All of that is from displaying love towards one's spouse. Now, another benefit can be taken from this, and that is that we used to say that if an individual has to speak about his wife to other people, he should mention her kunya, right? There's no basis for this in reality. We see that the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, when he had to speak about his wife, he called her by her name. When they asked him who was the most beloved of the people to him, he called her first name Aisha. Aisha, she's the most beloved, and he mentioned this to a Sahaba. So the ulama, they extract from this that there's no harm in mentioning a woman by her first name if there is a need to do so. Okay. وإعلان هذه المشاعر وعدم إخفائها, and outwardly proclaiming these emotions, these feelings, and not hiding them. فيه من التأثير ما ليس في غيره, that it has an effect which none other thing has in a relationship. كما جاء عن ابن معين, as has come from Ibn Ma'in, that Ibrahim al-Nakha'i rahimahullah, he said, كانوا يقولون, that the Salaf would say, قال الرجل امرأته إني أحبك طرف من السحر, that a man saying to his wife, I love you, is a branch of sihr, a branch of magic, meaning due to the enchanting effect that it has. We know that sihr, of course, is kufr, but this is not what he intends here. The Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, he said, Inna min bayanina sihra, that some eloquent speech is sihr, is magic, meaning it's enchanting. And we know that eloquence and having good words and good speech, and it's not something which is impermissible. If a person is eloquent and he speaks well, this is praiseworthy in its proper place. If it's used in support of the haqq, if it's used in that which is permissible, now this is something praiseworthy. To use that eloquence that Allah Ta'ala has given you to defend the religion and to put down batil. So this is not what is intended as sihr, that is impermissible. Now, and the same principle that we have here. Because if a person were to use that eloquent speech that Allah gave him, a person speaks well and he uses that speech that Allah Ta'ala has given him to aid batil, for example, and to call to bid'ah, then of course this is something which is impermissible. So what he intends here, that a man saying this to his wife, is that it has an enchanting type of effect upon another individual. Yani a man says this to his wife, it will do her in a good way. He says, and this is due to that which it contains from a deep effect upon the zawja. فَعِبَارَاتِ الْهُبْ, so statements of love and expressions of love, and small expressions, they have a small amount of words within them. They are free of charge. لَا كُلْفَ لَفِيهَا, they don't burden you at all. Just to show a small act of kindness and affection towards one's wife, it doesn't bring about any harm upon you. Easy to do, it's not a burden. لكن لها أثر كبير على النفوس, but it has a tremendous effect upon the soul. فالمرأة, so the woman, for example, تتزين بهذه العبارات لزوجها, these words, even if she doesn't go put on a nice dress and so on and so forth, her speaking to him in a good way beautifies her to him. She speaks to him in an excellent manner, with words of love and affection. She smiles and so on and so forth. This has an enchanting effect. It has a deep effect. and it will beautify the woman for her husband. Now, regardless of if she hasn't had her hair done in a week, she didn't put on a nice garment or whatever the case may be, she speaks to him, she deals with him in an excellent manner. This is sufficient in beautifying her. وَلَوْ أَخَذَتْ بِيَدْ زَوْجِهَا. So if she were to take the hand of her husband, for example, and she says the likes of these words to him, I love you. She takes his hand and says, I love you. All right? I appreciate you. So on and so forth. She does this, he says, وَزَوْجْ كَذَلِكَ, and the husband does the same. لَا شَكَّ أَنَّ هَذَا يُعَثِّرُ فِي النُّفُوسِ. Without doubt, it will have an effect upon the soul. And it will rectify many problems that occur inside the household. وَلَيْسَ فِيهِ تَنَزُّلٌ وَلَا تَحْقِيرٌ. And it does not contain within it any type of tanazzul, any type of doing away with one's status and nobility, nor does it contain belittlement for the person who does it. أو هو دليل على الضعف والنقص. Nor is it an evidence of weakness or deficiency, as shaitan may whisper to some of the people. Rather, the Shaykh, he says, إن كثيرا من السلوكيات البسيطة, يعني many small يعني gestures, small things that we do, they contain a large indication towards deep love and affection of the spouses for one another. Such as, for example, a woman beautifying herself for her husband. She takes time out. She wants to do her hair because, nobody else is going to see her. So she's doing it for who? For you. And it's not like she can go out of the house like that. So when a woman takes time out to beautify herself, and she may get her hair done, perhaps she you went and bought an outfit just to wear around the house to look nice for you, and the likes of this. He says, and she takes care to beautify her appearance for her husband. Likewise, the husband, he does the same. Try this, ayyuhal ikhwa. Buy some stuff that you just wear in the house. You just wear it in the house. Just some house clothes, some nice house clothes. Right? You just wear it for your wife. You beautify yourself for your wife. فإن فيه دلالة على مدة إظهار المودة. It is an evidence for the extent that one would go to display love and affection towards one's spouse. Because when the zawja, when the wife takes care to adorn herself, and she gives importance to her appearance, ensuring that she appears before her husband in a lovely manner, in order to please her husband, then this is from those things that display the extent of her love and the care that she has for her husband. She wants him to see her looking nice in the likes of this. And the husband, he does the same. He says, فَهَذَا لَهُ أَثَرٌ عَظِيمٌ. It has a tremendous effect in showing and displaying love for each other or for one another. And likewise, he says, it is not a sign or indication of deficiency or a lack of nobility. Rather, it is from diligence in safeguarding and upholding the household. وَقَدْ اِعْتَنَى بِهِ الشَّرْعُ. He says, and the legislation of Islam has given due importance to it due to the effect that it has. Islam calls to this affair of beautifying of the beautifying of the spouses one for another. As Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, he says, أنه قال إني أحب أن أتزين للمرأة كما أحب أن تتزين لي. That I love that I should beautify myself for my wife just as I love that she should beautify herself for me. And the man, he beautifies himself with that which is indicative of manliness and manhood. Now, he doesn't do those things that are impermissible to beautify himself with that which is impermissible, because that is not in reality beautifying oneself. Individual shaves his lihya off, for example, and he does those things that are impermissible and he calls it beautification. Rather, it's not beautification. It's not beautification at all. So the man, he perhaps if he's a seasoned, an older brother and he has gray, he can use henna, right? Like myself, I'm an old guy, so I use henna. Right? Perhaps he tries to stay in some kind of physical shape. Perhaps he puts upon himself a nice garment. The wearing of a ring is from the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah and it's from beautification. He wears nice oils, things like this. He gets a nice haircut. He puts upon himself good clothing. All that is from beautification for the man. And the woman, she does that which is indicative of her femininity. So perhaps she wears some jewelry. Perhaps she wears makeup inside of the house. Perhaps she puts upon herself perfume inside the house. She cannot leave with the perfume on, of course. But she can put something on inside of the home and put nice clothing on inside of the home and so on and so forth. Gets her hair done in those styles that are not those styles that are specific to the kuffar and the immoral individual, such that she shaves a portion of her head and the likes of this. Rather, but she beautifies what she has of hair. As the Messenger of Allah he mentioned that whoever has hair should honor it. Whoever has hair should honor it. So she takes care of herself in this way. Now, these are just some of the affairs, and not restricted or limited to that which you mentioned. Just small examples of beautification. He says, and so the Sharia, it has come with giving due consideration to an-nadhafa, hygiene. Generally speaking, one takes care of their hygiene. And likewise, the Prophet ﷺ, similarly, he used to wear a hulla hamra. He used to wear a hulla hamra, yani a red two-piece cloak. We spoke about this on the WhatsApp group the other day, right? This hulla that the Messenger of Allah, because we got this issue of men wearing a garment that is completely red, right? If the garment is completely red, having no other color in it except red, it's not permissible for the man. Permissible for the woman, but not for the man, right? And the ulama, they mentioned that this narration that the Messenger of Allah, they mentioned that the Messenger of Allah, he used to wear this hulla hamra, this red, a two-piece cloak set, right? That it was something which was known to the Arab at that time. The foundational color of it was red, but it had other stitching in it, primarily black stitching. It had other black stitching in it. And so they say that if the person has a garment that is red, but it has other colors stitched into it, then it is permissible to wear, like the red and white gutra, that the shimal that some of the brothers wear. It has red in it, but it also has white in it. Now, but a purely red garment, a piece of clothing, it is not permissible for the man to wear. The women, they can wear all of that, which will lead to their beautification. It is fine for them. Now, so he says that, but he used to wear this in order to beautify himself with it. This hulla hamra, this red cloak. It was two-piece that had black stitching in it. He would wear that, to look nice. He would wear that to look nice. And he, alayhi salam, on one occasion passed by a man who he saw having some tattered clothing on upon himself. Alakamal, do you have any money? He asked the man, do you have any money? قال نعم يا رسول الله. The man said, yes, O Messenger of Allah, min kull al-mal. I have all types of money. I have all types of wealth. I mean, I have animals, I have fulus, I have it all. I got, I'm pretty well off. The Messenger of Allah, alayhi salam, he said, إِذَا أَتَاكَ اللَّهُ مَالًا, if Allah has given you wealth, فَلْيَرَى أَطَرَهُ عَلَيْكَ, let the effects of that which Allah Ta'ala has given you be seen upon you. Meaning, take care of your appearance. Take care of your appearance. So we see, ayyuhal ikhwa, that walking around looking dusty and disheveled, it's not from the guidance of Al-Islam. Rather, we take care of our appearance. And he said, it's understandable if a person has upon himself work clothing because he goes to work. He works and he comes home and the likes of this. So you have upon yourself what is suitable for the situation that you're in. But Islam calls to the beautification of oneself and taking care of one's appearance. مما يدل على حرصه صلى الله عليه وسلم على الظهور بمظهر حسن. And so this is from that which proves and establishes the Prophet's alayhi salatu wasalam diligence to appear in a goodly manner, to look well, to look good, take care of himself. Generally speaking, he says, وَمِن بَابْ أَوْلَى أَمَامَ الزَّوْجَةِ, and even more so, one should do this in front of their wife. Because every good that an individual can get from you, right? Whether it's goodly speech, good mannerisms, generosity, beautifying yourself, and the likes of this, that anybody can get from you, then the wife has the most right to that. Now, the wife has the most right to that. Likewise, the husband has the most right to that. And we mentioned this before, how some of the people, they go out to an event and they put it on. They put the best of what they have on. and they come home to their spouse, the one who they're supposed to do this for, and you don't find the same consideration for beautifying of oneself in front of the spouse. This is not befitting. Now, he said, so therefore, displaying love and affection, and that which comes under that display of love for affection, from mu'amalat or sulukiyat, from the way that you interact and the way that you deal and conduct yourself inside of your home to your spouse, all of that is from that which solidifies love and affection, and it is from the greatest of means to minimizing any harshness between spouses and minimizing issues and problems and those things that have an effect upon that bond. And it is from those things which displaying love and affection and not slacking in doing so. It's one of those things which make the family firm and it's strong in their unity. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. As we mentioned, we're going to keep it short this evening and stop here, because the next point is about the issue of an-nafiqah from the husband upon his wife, and he speaks at length regarding this issue due to its importance, advising and warning regarding this issue. So لا ليس مترجم. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. You can stop. I asked the Shaykh actually for permission to translate.